Hello, everybody, and welcome to TVE versus Marvel and DC, Episode 6. Today we are going to be talking about The Flash, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Arrow. More specifically, The Flash, Season 2, Episode 6, Enter Zoom, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 3, Episode 7, Chaos Theory, and Arrow, Season 4, Episode 6, Lost Souls. So we're going to kick off with The Flash, as usual. I believe that's usually how we start. Will said earlier when we were talking about this before the podcast, or before this video cast started up, that this was his favorite of the episodes he got this week. I think I kind of agree with him on this one. Man, Barry got his ass kicked.
He got
That was a colossal beatdown.
That was not only a beatdown, but that was also just totally messed with his pride too. Like he Zoom paraded him around the city as like this trophy, as to say,
yeah, dragging him around by his head.
This guy,
body just
paraded him in front of everybody. Like, this guy who you thought could protect you, he ain't shit. He cannot protect you. I'm sorry. Not for me. And it was it was colossal.
It did a lot to establish the legitimacy of Zoom as as a threat. It's all been talked up before now, you know?
Right,
like,
yeah.
Oh, Zoom's scary. Oh, Zoom's scary, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's all been
now we see it. So
yeah. And it's like, excuse the crying, baby. But anyway.
So, Kat, what do you think of the crying baby?
It's scarier than Zoom. No. I thought it was an okay Flash. I mean, as far as last episodes go, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't have really strong feelings about it. I think one thing that kind of worked okay was like Barry totally got his ass kicked, and so there is the question of why did you bring this on yourself, Barry? But at the same time, I thought his reasoning for why he did bring it on himself was pretty solid. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know why they really go from here. I thought for sure that Zoom was going to take his speed, like he did to Jacob.
Right. In a way, he kind of did, though. Well, actually, we don't know. The jury's still out. We know we crippled him. He crippled Barry, and he might have also taken his speed along with that.
Because at one point he dug something into his chest that totally made it look to me like he was stealing his powers or something.
That was the anti-speed serum that Wells came up with to stop Zoom. Wells ran out with it, but Barry took one of them for himself, and he was going to use it on Zoom during the fight. And then Zoom ended up, when Barry was on the ground, Zoom took it from him and plunged it into Barry's chest.
Oh, okay. I don't remember all that, but okay.
Yeah, that was what that was. But you can actually see, they're actually pretty clear at the point where Zoom does cripple Barry, because he does something he does some move on Barry, and you can hear a very audible crack before Barry falls to the ground and before Zoom starts dragging him around all over the place. And I think that's the moment where it actually happened.
Seems like he broke his spine or something.
Yeah.
But
that fight, it went a long way to making Zoom a really credible villain, living up to all the hype of that this is like a scary monster that nobody can go up against,
Now I'm hoping it is Earth 2, Slade Wilson.
No. I'm curious about is last week both of you, this is more or less what I remember both of you predicting happening, and you were both pretty down on the idea that, oh, yep, Barry's going to face off against Zoom, and because it's so early in the season, he's going to get his ass kicked. But it seemed like you weren't disappointed by it, even though you thought you would be.
So no, because I think they gave Barry a proper motivation in that, his initial plan, like, that was all like this weird setup, and they were gonna, like, shoot Zoom with this thing, and it wasn't that, it didn't seem like that big of a threat, like the way they had set it up. They were really controlling the situation. That never happened, and then Zoom broke through, grabbed the girl, and put Barry in a position where, of course, as like a heroic character, he had to put himself there. So, I mean, it's predictable. I knew that Zoom was gonna beat his ass.
I knew the beatdown was coming. I didn't think it was gonna be as bad as it was.
Yeah.
I knew Barry would lose the fight because obviously we can't. It's not even halfway through the season, but it was like I did predict it to be as bad as it was. I thought it was gonna be like the Reverse Flash where Barry, it ended with basically Barry realizing that he needed to be faster. There was no beatdown there. It was just like he got away and Barry couldn't stop him. This was like,
that's kind of what I was expecting too. I was expecting like a real kind of anticlimactic thing, but what we ended up getting was like a pretty severe beatdown and a real show of power from Zoom,
right,
which made it more interesting to me.
And the fact that Zoom like took Barry around the city to show like everybody how helpless Barry was against him. That was another thing that really made Zoom like a really terrifying villain because not only did he defeat Barry, but he used that defeat to
demoralize everyone else.
Demoralize everyone else, to lower their confidence in Barry and really just make them all fearful of him.
Yeah, I actually did like it about that over the confrontation with the Reverse Flash because there were actual consequences. Also, I think another thing I find really welcome is last season I got really tired of Barry's hubris, something that the show did almost nothing to keep in check. And so, to me, I think it's really, really, really good for the character to be so severely taken down a few pegs.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And then we also got Wells to admit, like, his motivation, like, we already knew it, but, like...
We knew it, but the other characters didn't.
The other characters didn't.
Did Cisco find out this episode or last episode?
This episode, because, like, he vibed him. It was, like, in the most awkward way, too. He was like, let me help you with that. And,
all the rest of them, and then...
Yeah. But... One thing I say, the identity of Zoom, I really think it's going to be Earth 2 Henry Allen. Like, it's been pointed out that this season seems to be, the theme of this season seems to be family. I mean, the season started out with Barry's father actually getting out of prison, and then he takes off. And then we got the other plot points about Iris's mom coming back, Iris learning about her mother, and also an estranged sibling who will be appearing. And then we got Harrison Wells and his daughters. So like family seems to be a huge, huge theme this season. So it would seem to like fit the theme if Zoom was a version of Barry's father.
Yeah. It makes sense, and like we said before when there was like the rumors that it would be Earth 2 Barry Allen, and I was saying it would be weird because Zoom is so much bigger, but Barry's dad is larger,
Also,
you could see him being more of like a physical threat in that way.
Also, we found out about Earth 2 Arrow, who is actually Robert.
That was an awesome Easter egg.
That was an awesome Easter egg. In Earth 2, the Arrow is Robert Queen because Oliver drowned instead and didn't make it to the island instead.
I found that to mean that Moira Queen could potentially return, mostly because she was one of my favorite characters on Arrow, and I still miss her.
Yeah, right. There you go. We could get Earth 2 Moira Queen.
That would be awesome.
Actually, that's who Zoom is.
I hope that we've been holding out on the identity on Zoom, and that totally makes sense. I don't think it's anywhere near the point of being dragged out too much, but still I feel like there's just so much inherent speculation going on with any episode related to Zoom that I'm already starting to worry that they might not be able to live up to the hype with the reveal. Like,
Right.
that whomever it does turn out to be will inevitably be A, make no sense, or B, a disappointment.
At least
Yeah.
it's not obvious from the first episode, like like it was with Harrison Wells as the Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
Right from the first episode, at the end of the first episode, we're like, oh, okay, well, clearly something's up with him. He's probably the Reverse Flash.
Right. Well, because there's no obvious likely suspects in the cast, in the regular cast. It's not like you can say, because Harrison Wells was a regular cast member from the beginning, and he always came off as a shady guy. They were hinting at it, so it made a lot of sense that he was Reverse Flash. Whereas you can't point to anybody in the regular cast right now and say, well, yeah, that's Zoom. But at the same token, it's got to be somebody you recognize. It's got to be somebody important to Barry to have any dramatic effect. It can't just be any random person, because then it's like, who?
It's Agent Coulson. It's
Yeah,
Earth 2
I
Agent
did
Coulson.
kind of worry about that because they've dropped absolutely no hints whatsoever.
Right.
And so it's just kind of like, I guess maybe I'm feeling a tad impatient about it. I don't know. Maybe that's
It would be like the episode of Justice League Unlimited cartoon where Lex Luthor took control of Wally West's body, the Flash's body, and there's the scene where he goes, where he's thinking, I wonder who this is under this mask. So he takes off the mask, and then he just says, I don't know who this is.
very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the unveil. It'll just be some random person.
Now it's like, who?
It's all Bruce Campbell, and he's like, you thought I was
Bruce Campbell.
You thought Ash versus Evil Dead and Fargo was enough?
No, it's Star-Lord. So when Zoom takes off his mask, it's Chris Pratt, Star-Lord. And he's like, and Barry Allen's like, who?
He's like, come on, I had the biggest hit movies of the last 2 years, Summers.
Pretty much. No, but that's why I think it's going to turn out to be Earth 2 Henry Allen, because I think that fits the theme.
It'll have the most dramatic impact of the Earth 2 characters, at least.
Yeah, that would have the most dramatic impact for Barry and everybody else. And also it kind of fits because the actor played the Flash in the past, so having him play a version of the character, or at least another speedster, getting in the suit again, it would also have that cool factor, that nostalgic factor that they like to do on this show, that these guys like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it really works on like a bunch of different levels. I don't see them not going that way. But maybe they'll surprise me.
Yeah, that's definitely the leading contender, I feel. But who knows? I mean, you're getting to Earth 2 territory. You can go all over the map.
Yeah, you could do. Well, that's the awesome thing about Earth 2 is like you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. I just want to note for Kat that not the episode after next episode. Apparently, there's going to be a big Arrow Flash crossover.
I know. I've already seen the photos. I'm like, okay, so I already know which ones to avoid.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. It's my choice. Like it's my consequence because I'm the one choosing not to watch Arrow right now. So. Right.
Totally.
So let's move on from The Flash and on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 3, Episode 7, Chaos Theory, in which Melinda May confronts Andrew.
Now, I thought this was a great episode in itself. I really liked how the episode focused on May and, the doctor. Andrew, May and Andrew's relationship. That was like the crux of the episode and how these new revelations affected it. And I really felt the emotional impact, of what like May was going through, knowing that this guy that she loved is now like this psychotic monster, and like And he didn't seem to be an unwilling monster either. It wasn't like the werewolf where he just changes it. It's like he fully knows what he's doing, and he's not willing to give that up for any reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I absolutely love this episode. It was possibly one of my... I loved, like, there were so many just little pieces of it that I loved. And I think also, like you were saying, like, that it focused on the May Garner relationship. They had a lot going into it, so I was actually really glad that they put a lot of stuff on hold, because I worried about it being overstuffed, and then just had everything come together in that really awesome Lash confrontation. Like,
Oh yeah.
and I loved also, because I think what they've really demonstrated with both with the May Garner stuff, but also with the Fitzsimmons stuff, is how emotionally driven everything is for these characters right now. Because Fitz and Simmons had that wonderful scene together at the end where they're watching the sunset, and it's just like these characters, and I'm loving what the show is doing for them.
We also got to see Lincoln being driven by his emotions as well.
Yeah.
And becoming a little angsty and aggressive.
Hey, I'll say this about Lincoln. I honestly keep forgetting he's a main member of the cast. Because I was sincerely surprised when I heard they were adding him to the cast, because it's not like he's a character that really pops in any way, and he doesn't have much personality to him or anything. He's more just a pretty face. But I will say this about his confrontation with Andrew. I think it worked for the story, but I also think it made sense for his character. Like, he doesn't have any loyalty to S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's understandable that he would be upset about, like, he didn't come with S.H.I.E.L.D. to take him in. He came with S.H.I.E.L.D. because he's angry about all the people that Lash has killed. So I actually thought that moment worked.
And also Lash is after him, too. He's on Lash's list, so makes sense that he'd want to take him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew's making a list and he's checking it twice.
Yeah, right. Also, I thought it was cool, like, we actually got to see, like, before there was questions, okay, how long has Andrew been Lash? You know, was this... I like that we got that answered this episode.
I like that it wasn't fish oil.
Yeah, it was,
but it was another thing that made sense, you know, like...
Yeah, well, because
that's something Jia Ying would have done. She was conniving and devious.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. Also, confirmed, evil head of the ACU, whatever unit.
Well, she's in cahoots with Gideon. We don't know what she knows about him.
That's true.
Yeah.
We don't know.
He's still a kind of shadowy figure.
And
like it seems like people don't really.
Well, and they've spent so much time building up.
Seems like even Ward didn't know who he was. He was just aware of him, but not of who he was. Or
that's true.
Well, and I think also, like, we don't know Gideon's full loyalty, but also, like, they have worked so carefully to make all of Rosalind's motives logical and understandable.
Yeah.
That I just don't believe for a second that she's evil. Like, there's no way this show is just suddenly going to pull the rug out from underneath it and go that simplistic out of nowhere.
Yeah, right. She's suddenly Hydra all along.
That would be way too.
Yeah, that's true. So just because she's associated with Gideon doesn't mean that the association is what it implies.
But it does seem that she's sleeping with Coulson now, so.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hazard a guess. I bet they're both using each other, so I give Coulson more credit than that.
Mutual sexual espionage.
Yeah.
It works for James Bond, apparently.
Yeah. Sometimes that comes with the job.
Well, and they do have chemistry.
Yeah.
I really like that moment where the two of them meet, like, I think they're meeting on the beach or something, and he's looking at her car, and she says, "Eyes up here," and he says, "Busted."
Yeah.
Great banter.
I think that's the best part of the season, is that they actually gave Coulson like a love interest, and they made it like seem natural, like
Yeah.
not forced or anything at all. And I was like,
Hmm.
that's pretty amazing.
And
It's,
I think what you understand, because she really does strike me as being a female Coulson, and so I think it totally makes sense why he would be attracted to her at all.
yeah, totally. Yeah, it totally makes sense. That's why I love the most about it because you're like, yeah, it doesn't feel forced or like some dumb plot thread. It feels like this is what would naturally happen if these two characters met.
Uh-huh.
And
Go
okay,
on.
go ahead. No,
I
that's
was
fine.
going to say, back to the Lash story with Melinda May, I wanted to get on. I like the way that they finally got Lash.
Yes,
Hmm.
I
It was
like that.
it was appropriate that it was May that did it,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
it was appropriate the way she did it too.
she just shot
And
him, and
Coulson asking,
yeah,
like, how did he know that wouldn't kill him? And her saying, I didn't.
I
I
didn't.
didn't.
Yeah. I thought that was actually brilliant because it was totally a reflection of Bahrain. I think intentionally. So
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
excited. I think also what they've done with May's character, among other things, to me represents how good the pacing is this season. And maybe this is why I'm like a little bit impatient with Zoom, where I'm just kind of like, I don't want them to drag this out too long. I think Agents of Shield has already revealed who Lash is and dealt with some of the immediate repercussions from that. But like, I thought when she was missing from the premiere, I'd be like, oh, and she'll be back in 2 or 3 episodes, and oh, we'll be back to normal. And it's like, no, it took her like 8 episodes to return, and I don't think things could possibly be worse. I
Although,
really like the way the pacing has been working out for this
although
season.
so far, if we're comparing villains, Lash has been a weaker villain than Zoom so far, but
But I guess I
comparatively,
find them very different kinds of villains.
yeah,
Because
I think
we
yeah,
still don't know a lot about Zoom and who he is and what his motives are and if he's even connected to anyone. Whereas Lash, they've already made clear that there's some gray area and that he's very personally connected to multiple
he's very
characters.
yeah. With Lash, he thinks he's on this righteous mission because he believes that these Inhumans are dangerous or potentially dangerous, and he's doing everybody a favor by putting them down.
Well, we
And
also
what
And
found out
I
in this episode, though, that it seems like it's more selfish than that. Like he always has like a
yeah,
biological
yeah,
drive
he says
yeah,
he
that's what I
doesn't
want
need to
to
do it.
that's what I want to understand is why would the Kree breed someone like Lash? Because he's obviously compelled to seek out and kill other Inhumans.
Yeah, he
So
is.
where does this come from, and how does he differentiate between who he deems worthy and unworthy? So I think there's definitely more
Right.
information to be
The
gleaned
whole
there.
worthy and unworthy thing is just Andrew's justification of acting on his urges and impulses.
like he likes Sky,
Maybe.
so he doesn't want to kill Sky.
Maybe, but
Right.
I mean, he hasn't, so far, he's only killed, as far as we know, he's only killed Inhumans that existed prior to last season. And he's like, and continues to target like Lincoln and so on and so forth, but we know that he's left Daisy alone. So, and considering how much I think he's being controlled by his instincts here, I really think the
I think
instincts are the
yeah.
ones that are steering it, and then maybe emotionally he tries to rationalize it to himself.
Right.
So I
He
think
tries
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a man
about
behind the curtain to all this.
yeah, about him going after like Lincoln. Like Daisy said something to him like Lincoln's not bad, and he said something like no, that kid's dangerous or something.
Yeah.
Or,
He's
and
got a
so, yeah,
darkness in him
he's
or
got a
something.
darkness in him, and so he's rationalizing it to himself even there. He's like he wants to go kill Lincoln, and so he's like trying to rationalize it, saying no, he's not really good. He's bad. Like,
Lincoln also gave us another kind of key piece of information to the Lash puzzle that's interesting, which is that Inhumans do not change forms. That's just because he's in
Yeah.
flux, which means that he's going to become
he's gonna become Lash
permanent
permanently.
I
Lash,
thought that
unless,
was one
of
of the
course,
most heartbreaking parts of it, that like
yeah.
Andrew's basically just gonna permanently disappear at some point. And I think I
Yeah.
liked that too because I liked the way they incorporated that with the cure stuff they got going on, because Daisy and Rosalind had the conversation early on where it was really clear how each of them felt about humans and about the whole notion of the cure and how to treat them. And by the end of the episode, you could see each of them maybe slightly seeing the value of the other's perspective. Because like Daisy was like, she could see the value of putting Andrew in stasis.
Yeah.
That was really nicely done.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that was cool. I like the way they tied that together. One other thing to talk about with this episode is off of the kind of Lash storyline and ACTU and all of that is I think one of the things that I'm being most interested in this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is the storyline revolving around the obelisk and the secret society that had connections to it. And so we finally got the moment where Fitz discovered that there is this link to the secret society that we saw, which is the furthest back we've seen in the MCU so far, I think.
Yeah.
As far as like time chronologically.
That's true. Outside of Thor and Loki, of course.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I think I'm really interested in that story, and I like how they've just been kind of sprinkling it, little bits here and there. You know? They've been doing a pretty good job of, because this episode was already packed with all the Lash storyline stuff, but they still managed to get in like a little key,
Yeah. Another little hint of what's more still to come. And I think I love that too, because it's like I feel satisfied by where the episode ended, but there's still so much else to accomplish, and I have full confidence that the writers know exactly where they're
going. That they're not already running out of story. There's still
not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest. There's still stuff to go over. There's the secret society. There's this whole other planet that they got to go back to with some evil thing on this planet. Nobody knows what that is.
What do you think this evil planet, do you think this is going to tie into something bigger in the MCU? Like, I have a feeling this is going to tie into Ragnarok.
Well, I saw speculation that it could be death on the planet, which, from my understanding, would possibly tie it into Infinity War, because isn't Thanos trying to court death?
Yeah, Thanos is trying to court death because he's obsessively in love with her. So if it is
Mistress Death, that could. I mean, they're already doing story elements that could easily tie into Civil War and Inhumans.
Yeah, so if this is story element, if it is death and that would tie it into Infinity War. That'd be interesting.
Wow. So Ragnarok would certainly make sense too.
Ragnarok, yeah. Apparently Ragnarok takes place on a planet that's not Earth, that's not Asgard, and it features and it's going to feature both Thor and the Hulk.
Oh, that's right. So it'll be fun to see more of Mark Ruffalo since he's not going to get to be in Civil War at all.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Also not in Civil War is Thor, and so I guess this movie is the reason why they're not going to be involved in that.
It makes sense. They're not. They shouldn't really be involved in that. So. And they need to get Hulk into space because that's the only place they could really do like a decent Hulk movie. I think is because. You're going to get to that whole, like, oh, well, he's either raging or it's like, or it's Bruce, or whatever. It's either he's raging or he's the human version trying to figure out how to get away from whoever's chasing him.
The only reason...
Planet Hulk, stuff like that, you can get into kind of intergalactic stuff. You can pit him up against people that are actually a threat to him. And that makes it more interesting.
Well, I keep hearing the only reason there isn't another solo Hulk movie is because actually Universal has the rights to those, and so Marvel would. Yeah.
It wouldn't be Marvel if the licensing rights were divided among at least 4 or 5 different studios.
Yeah, of course. So because if you go back to the second Hulk movie with Edward Norton, which actually is part of the MCU, that was distributed by Universal. It still is distributed by Universal if you buy DVDs and everything. And so Universal would have to team up with Marvel and Disney to do another Hulk.
They also haven't done a Hulk movie in a while, so those rights might have reverted already.
Well, I mean, that's the last I heard. I don't know what the deal is with that. That's kind of like a weird thing because Marvel can still use the character as they please, apparently. They just can't make a solo movie without that studio.
I guess kind of like Spider-Man.
But even that's like fine though. Like I could see Hulk
Yeah.
popping up in like Guardians of the Galaxy. That would be fun.
Oh, if they made Hulk like a member of the Guardians. But but James Gunn has publicly come out and said he's very much against that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think it would be cool. Because it would give Guardians that tie to like kind of everything else that's going on that it currently doesn't have.
Right.
There
Right.
really isn't much in the way of connecting Guardians of the Galaxy to the rest of the MCU at this point.
Right.
I guess except Thanos, obviously.
Yeah, it's like
Thanos.
Thanos and their stuff, but having somebody there that like, just having somebody like referencing things happening in the MCU and then how that connects to, like Peter Quill, and stuff as somebody from Earth, would be interesting to see, so I'd like to see something along those lines. If not the Hulk, then somebody else.
I fully expect Infinity War to be the first time the Guardians of the Galaxy crosses over with the rest of the MCU.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine how big the cast for Infinity War is probably going to be?
They got 2 movies too, so they're going to spread it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's 2 movies, because the cast they're going to have to get everybody who's ever shown up in these movies.
And there's going to be a lot of characters that are probably going to die in Infinity Wars because actors' contracts are coming up, a lot of them.
Sure. And bringing it back around to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think it would be great if they found a way to let some characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. other than Coulson maybe start to appear in some of the films. Like Daisy in Inhumans is a no-brainer, but maybe they could even have a few of them show up like in Civil War, or if they're gonna bring.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I could see them really showing up in the
Why not let them have some of the characters from?
They should film some scenes with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast and have it in the Infinity War film. Like,
think of all the nameless. Think of all the nameless Shield people that were in like Captain America 2.
Yeah.
And all these like nameless Shield agents, like
imagine
even if it's just like a cameo,
Imagine you're in the theater and you're watching Infinity War, and then you see a scene that cuts to the Shield helicarrier, and you see the entire cast of the Agents of Shield. And they're like all hands on deck. It'd be so awesome, right?
Well, and I think Kevin Feige has even said that they're going to start letting some of the events of the TV series, if not necessarily in form, at least like be referenced in the movies, because as it stands, it's only been the reverse. And I think that would be really nice to see.
That would be really nice to see. So I hope they use that opportunity.
I've been rewatching a few clips and episodes from first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I think what's really, really, really helped the series is that like in first season the show could only function according to other movies. Like it needed the groundwork of Avengers and the Winter Soldier in order to function, which was a huge problem for it. And I think they've reversed that, which is instead of relying on the movies for groundwork, it's laying the groundwork for movies. And as a result, it's not so beholden to them. And it's been able to like individualize it in interesting ways, like the Inhuman material that they've done so much interesting with. I'm so glad that they've started doing that.
Yeah, I'm so glad they started doing that too. It's like once the actual Inhuman film hits.
In what, 5 years?
Yeah, in 5 years. It will already have been so informed by what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has done that there will be more influence on that film from the TV side than the other way around.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be fun too because it's like instead of having to start from the ground up and trying to introduce these new superpowered people, they already have a foundation. And granted, they can't necessarily expect audiences to be familiar with that foundation, but it's not like starting with the first X-Men movie and trying, and...
Yeah, it's not like Inhumans suddenly going to come out of nowhere and be like, oh, this is a thing.
Wait, how has no one in the MCU known about this before?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's keep it in the realm of MCU. We have a few other things to talk about here, which is mostly that by the time we do next week's video, Jessica Jones will have been out.
Oh
So
my!
next week we're going to be talking about a little Jessica Jones. So the three of us need to come to kind of an idea of what we're going to talk about. I'm not going to hold back on watching, but we can hold back on what we talk up to as far as content. In the first week,
I think we should.
It's not a week though. That's the thing it's like 3 days.
It's like
5 days. Yeah.
5 days.
What do you guys think? 2-3 episodes? What do you think?
I would say for me, 2 episodes would probably be, because I don't see myself jumping in and watching it a whole bunch at once. I see myself like trying the pilot and giving myself a day to absorb it and then trying the next episode.
Right.
Okay, let's do that then. Are you good with that, Will?
I'm good with that.
So next week we should be, unless, one of us has an issue that causes us not to be able to, next week we will talk about the first 2 episodes of Jessica Jones, along with what we always talk about here with The Flash, Arrow, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. In addition to that, there's been, some MCU filming stuff going on. There have been some shots coming out of Benedict Cumberbatch on the set of Doctor Strange, and was in Tibet that they were filming.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it feels like it's been a long time since we've had a Marvel movie, and it hasn't been that long.
Yeah,
I think part of it is the last one we had was Ant-Man, and Ant-Man's still kind of disconnected for the most part,
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know. They put hooks in there, They had Agent Carter and Ant-Man, and then they mentioned Hydra. They had
Hawk.
Yeah, I mean.
But he's not part of the Avengers yet. That probably won't happen until Civil War.
Yeah.
But it's coming in though. It's like this next year. It's like, whoo, they're starting to get some MCU stuff coming out.
I'm excited, but kind of nervous about next year. Not just for the MCU, but for the abundance of comic book movies that we're getting.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's kicking off,
I'd really
and
like to see succeeds.
It's
Batman
like February, I think.
Superman.
In February, it's starting off with
Deadpool.
What?
Deadpool,
yeah.
Whose movies first? And then then Batman v Superman, then Civil War, then Apocalypse, then Suicide Squad, and then Gambit's supposed to get a standalone movie late in the year.
Yeah, I heard that's running into production problems. So the director just dropped out.
Yeah, they just hired Doug Liman for it.
Okay.
So I'm kind of like.
Okay. I mean, if that turns out bad, at least Deadpool looks like it's going to be excellent.
Excellent, mostly standalone.
Mostly standalone.
Real different vibe from what we're used to from other.
From what I'm hearing,
movies.
it's mostly almost like an independent film because the people making Deadpool for Fox gave them free reign pretty much to do whatever on a limited budget, of course.
Yeah.
But it looks like they just have free reign and they're making the most true to the comics Deadpool film that they can make, and it's really heartwarming to see.
I think
I'm guessing it will probably just ignore X-Men Origins Wolverine altogether.
It is. Well, it doesn't ignore it as so much as it openly mocks it and then goes to ignore it.
I'll admit I never saw that movie, because much as I like Wolverine, I don't really care about seeing standalone films for him.
I don't know if you saw this, but Ryan Reynolds did a Deadpool Halloween video recently where he was in character as Deadpool. And he had all these kids dressed up as X-Men around him.
That's a fun idea, actually.
That's a fun idea. Oh yeah, it's great. There's one line, one of the kids says can we sew his mouth again? A direct reference to X-Men Origins. So yeah, they're not running away from that movie. They are just going to mock. They're just mocking it.
Yeah. The comic book movies are hitting hard and heavy next year. I think I'm most anticipating Deadpool. I'm most cautious about Civil War.
And another thing
Just
about
because I
Deadpool,
love the Captain America movies, you know?
another thing about Deadpool is they also keep making references to Green Lantern. Because like in the trailer, like
Oh dear.
in the trailer for Deadpool, like Ryan Reynolds says something like, just make sure the suit isn't green, you know,
Or CG, yeah.
or CG. And I think in the Halloween video I just talked about, like one of the girls said, "Are you Green Lantern?" And he says, "No, no. Do I look like CGI fucked the leprechaun or something?"
So yeah, it's going to be a pretty crazy year. I think we're going to move on towards Arrow now, so we're going to say goodbye to Kat.
Oh, bye, Kat.
Thank you for joining us today. And talk to you later. Okay, so on to Arrow, Season 4, Episode 6.
Oh, yeah.
Lost Souls.
Painful episode.
Also known as Legends of Tomorrow Setup, Episode number 16.
Legends of Tomorrow Setup number 16, now with more Felicity drama.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Like this is like everything the fans didn't want. It's like, let's bring Felicity's mom back. Why? What purpose did she serve to the plot? And then there's all this stupid Felicity drama for no reason again. It's like, oh my God, Arrow, stop it. Stop it. I hate you right now. And other than that, like the rest of the episode.
This was Season 3 Felicity all over again.
Oh, yeah. I was enjoying the season up until this episode. It's like, I don't want to lose myself in him. I'm like,
Damien Dark threatened Ray and said he was gonna. They, hinted that he'd kill Felicity. I was like, do it!
Yeah, do it! Do it!
You're in the box!
Oh my God! Other than that, this was a pretty aggressively mediocre episode. There was like, even the
that was such a setup episode, and it really wasn't all that interesting.
Nothing about it.
Ray's shrunken, so of course he's being held by Damien Dark for no apparent reason. Like how Damien managed to find him and everything or whatever, I don't care. But I think it would have been more interesting if they kind of went like in an Ant-Man direction. And all they did in that was have him talk about it. Like Ray saying that he ended up getting attacked by, what was it, beetles or no, it was
like cockroaches.
Yeah, cockroaches.
Yeah, it was all exposition because obviously they don't have the special effects budget to do.
Even if they don't have the special effects budget to really do it, there's still other things they could have done. To pull off like a kind of fun thing about him being,
Yeah, they could have done something fun with it. Instead, they're like, oh, Ray's trapped in a cube being held by Damien Dark. We got to go.
Here he is in an upside-down candy dish on top of a table,
And Oliver's like, well, we could save him, but let's have dinner with your mom instead, Felicity. And it's like, what is with this episode? Like, the whole episode, like, Ray's in danger, and it's just like Felicity, like, being like snotty,
passive aggressive
to Oliver, and Oliver being like, what did I do? And it's like, this is not why I watch Arrow. This is not why I watch Arrow. Oh my God, just a terrible episode. And then, of course, at the end, Lance hooks up with Felicity's mom because why not? At least the stupid.
That's Lancicity mom.
Lancicity.
That's what the official.
At least the stupid fan theory didn't come true, where Damien Dark was Felicity's father.
Hey, it's not too late.
It's not too late. They could still pull that revelation. It would be stupid, but they could still do it.
Just think about it, okay? Felicity Smoke, Damien Dark, Smoke is dark.
Dark smoke. Yeah, right.
I rest my case.
Also, Damien Dark is Zoom.
Yeah.
Earth 2 Damien Dark is Zoom.
Yeah. He's also, what, like 80 years old? Or
80 years older. Oh my god. There was a cool scene in this episode where Damien Dark confronted Oliver again.
Almost unmasked him.
But then Oliver like pulled a trick while he was distracted and got loose from his mind control. But you get the sense of Damien Dark as a villain. You get the sense like he's not even trying. Like he was choking Oliver out and he had him like pinned. And you get the sense that he wasn't even using like 2% of his abilities to do that. You know? Like all we've seen from him so far are parlor tricks. So it's going to be interesting when he's forced to go all out.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder, how can Oliver handle this? You know, this might be too much for him.
He's going to get mystic arrows.
But then again, Oliver has that. Oh, but then again, you forgot Chekhov's gun, because Oliver has that spell from Constantine tattooed on him, and I'm pretty sure that's going to come into play during some climatic battle with Damien Dark, where it looks like Damien Dark's going to win, but then that spell is going to give Oliver the advantage.
Yeah.
It's
Chekhov's gun. They're not going to introduce a tattoo unless it serves a purpose.
Right, they're not going to introduce a magical tattoo and have it do nothing for the whole season.
Then he's going to get, he's just going to keep adding to it. Like, Constantine will come back, give him like a magical tramp stamp. Like a magical like barbed wire tattoo around his arm and like a magical tribal on his forearm.
He's like, I still got some room on the tip of my nose for another magical tag.
What is this huge magical tattoo you just gave me do? Oh, it allows you to make your voice really funny like Mickey Mouse. It's like, what?
What are the odds that the campaign manager for Oliver's campaign trying to get in bed with the is actually an agent for Damien Dark?
Oh, I thought you were going to say is actually Zoom.
Oh, well, he's also Zoom too. He's an agent. Zoom is an agent of Damien Dark.
Damien Dark.
It turns out that Zoom is working for Damien Dark, and that it's all connected. Because Zoom is keeping the Flash busy, so the Flash doesn't like mess with Damien Dark's plans. It's all connected.
I still think Zoom is Lash.
Yeah, Zoom is Lash. I think that guy's gonna end up being working for Damien Dark because that's obvious.
Yeah, it kind of feels a little bit forced because they did that with was it that DJ that Theo was kind of interested in last season?
They already did this plot line. Yeah.
But it's like, as much as I do like Arrow and Flash and everything, they're not above doing that.
Yeah, they're not.
Let's face it, they're not above that kind of a cheap play,
Right.
So I'm worried they're gonna do that. That's. Yeah, I'm hoping it's not.
So Thea's going to be the girl who keeps falling for like henchmen of the main villain. Yeah. It's like, yeah. Other than that, there's nothing really interesting.
And then Oliver will kill Damien Dark, and then Thea's dad will become the new Damien Dark.
Yeah. The new Damien.
So I am Ra's al Dark.
Malcolm just gets. I am surprised at such a small role Malcolm's playing this season. I know he's off being Ra's al Ghul or something, but it just seemed like they would find a way to make him a bigger deal than just have him be in one episode.
Well, they still could, you know.
Yeah, they still could.
They got all that Legends of Tomorrow stuff to build up.
Oh yeah, that's true. They got all that Legends of Tomorrow stuff to build up, so we gotta get that out of the way first. So we're just missing the episode with Hawk Girl, who's dating Cisco, but not for long. Poor Cisco.
And we have to meet Hawkman.
We have to meet Hawkman. I saw the image from the crossover. It was basically Arrow, Black Canary, the Flash, and Hawk Girl and Hawkman.
And we need their time traveling guide, so that's when we're gonna cross over Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Doctor Who, by the way, Capaldi's Doctor Who is Zoom.
David Tennant. David Tennant, Doctor Who is Zoom and the Purple Man at the same time.
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think it's Sawyer from Lost.
It's Sawyer from Lost. 10 to 1. I mean, come on. We all know the island from Arrow is the same island from Lost.
Yep.
It's obvious. How many islands are there that are completely magical?
Like one island in this one?
I know, right?
So yeah, that pretty much wraps up our discussion on Arrow. So if you were paying attention, it seems like Will and I both liked The Flash the most this week. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. second, and Arrow was a disappointing episode for us. Kat did not watch Arrow. She seemed a little bit less warm about what happened on The Flash than Will and I, and really liked this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Next week, we're going to be talking about all three of these shows, as well as the first two episodes of Jessica Jones, which will have premiered by then. And yeah, that's it. So check us out, TVEnthusiast.com. Check out our podcast. We record it every Thursday. It's up on Fridays. The weekly set, we just put one up this last week on Friday, so you can check that out. And check out next week. You can check out the rest of our videos on YouTube if you're watching this, and you're probably watching it from YouTube. So go and check out some of our other videos we have up, and check out the website, TVEnthusiast.com, so you can get some of our articles. That's it. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Good night.
Good night.